Say, sports fans, last week I tuned into a few Canadian Football League games. Even though I love football, both CFL and NFL, I was left utterly confounded and confused. Now, by way of explanation, I wasn't identifying as an American watching his first CFL game, thereby constantly screaming at the TV set, "Hey, why the hell are these teams always punting on third down?" No, rather, what left me somewhat mystified was that something appeared to be a wee bit off regarding the team's uniforms and helmet logos, which is to say there was a smattering of orange coloring on those helmets and uniforms, even though the only team in the league that actually makes use of that color on a regular basis is the British Columbia Lions. The team logos on the helmets were also modified. For example, here's the de rigueur helmet of the Toronto Argonauts. And now here's a photo of the helmet the Argos donned last Friday. So I did a little research and came across an article in sportslogos.net. Yes, folks, there's actually a website committed to covering the world of sports logos. Go figure. Anyway, the article clarified the reimagining of those helmets and jerseys. Quote, league-wide, tonight's looks tie into the CFL's Diversity is Strength platform, which amplifies year-round programming across Black History Month, International Women's Day, Asian Heritage Month, Pride, and Truth and Reconciliation. Last year, all 9 CFL clubs introduced Indigenous design team logos by local artists to honor the game's ties with Indigenous communities, end quote. And to think I thought I was trying to get away from the Looney Tunes environment that is our real world simply by trying to watch a football game. I mean, good golly, Miss Molly, where do I even start? Well, how about this Diversity is Strength platform? 2 things come to mind. I'm of the opinion that strength is strength if diversity happens to be an added feature of that aforementioned strength. Well, so be it. But simply being diverse, whatever that means, doesn't necessarily mean that one is strong. Like, who the heck is the CFL commissioner these days? Justin Trudeau? And is this the start of things to come for the CFL? Will gridiron fans see modified helmets and uniforms in the near future that portray the themes of Black History Month, International Women's Day, Asian Heritage Month, and Pride? Please no. If I see one more stylized rainbow this year, I think I'm going to vomit. Then again, if Justin Trudeau is indeed CFL commissioner, perhaps commemorating Black History Month will give our ex-PM yet another excuse to don blackface. Another thing, when you think about it, the CFL's diversity platform isn't all that diverse, is it? Oh, sure, natives and Asians and women and blacks and LGBTers are being singled out for recognition. But what about the Latinos? What about the Punjabis? Closer to home, what about the Scots? You know, I think a football helmet decked out in the Menzies tartan would look super cool. The modern hunting tartan, to be precise. Seriously, when it comes to the diversity sweepstakes, who decides which minority groups are honored and which ones are summarily ignored? What are the rules? I really, really want to know. Speaking of the rules, here's another thing. How is it that the use of Indigenous symbolism in sports suddenly has gone from verboten to vogue, at least in the terms of the CFL? I mean, post George Floyd, cancel culture slammed down a tomahawk big time on many teams using native logos and nicknames. I don't get the connection either, folks, but never mind. First to go was the Washington Redskins. DC's football team is now known as the Washington Commanders. Commanders? What are you commanding? Surrender? Next to go was the Cleveland Indians. Cleveland's baseball team is now known as the Guardians. What are they guarding exactly? Perhaps Cleveland's Cuyahoga River, a waterway that is so polluted it sometimes catches on fire. Only in Cleveland. North of the border, the CFL's Edmonton Eskimos were also deemed to be offside. Poor Edmonton football fans. They're now stuck with a team that has the nickname Elks. And as an aside, isn't the plural for elk the same as the singular? Elk. I mean, who calls a herd of elk elks? Congratulations, Edmonton. You now have the most grammatically incorrect nickname this side of the Toronto Maple Leafs. But here's the thing. Edmonton wanted to keep its iconic EE logo, so it needed a nickname to begin with the letter E. Wouldn't the obvious choice be the Edmonton Energy? You know, with the club being situated in oil and gas-rich Alberta after all. Oh, wait a minute. What am I saying? That nickname might be offensive to the climate change kooks.
How dare you?
Oh, and by the way, folks, the left-wing loonies aren't quite done yet. They're now targeting the remaining native-themed teams in sports. That includes the Kansas City Chiefs, the Atlanta Braves, and the Chicago Blackhawks. By the way, the CBC isn't even waiting around for the Blackhawks to get officially canceled. So it is that the woeful wokesters at the CBC will only refer to the Chicago Blackhawks on air as Chicago's NHL team. I'm serious. And guess what? You're paying for this fake news, folks. And another thing, these modified CFL logos and uniforms, they're not so much Indigenous designed, rather they're Indigenous modified. You know, piggybacking additional design elements on an existing logo is a big mistake when it comes to basic graphic design, in which less is always more. It's kind of like unnecessarily tinkering with a Porsche 911, you know, when you put one of those ludicrous whale tail spoilers on the back. That's not innovation, that's regression. Indeed, in the world of sports, minimalism wins the day when it comes to logos. I speak of the iconic NY of the New York Yankees, the SF of the San Francisco 49ers, the CH of the Montreal Canadiens, and of course the majestic winged wheel of the Detroit Red Wings. Those logos are all instantly recognizable and are design masterpieces. As for the Indigenous-themed CFL logos, sorry, they all add up to a dog's breakfast. Case in point, check out the modified logo of the Montreal Alouettes. Now, to me, it looks like a bird shedding its feathers somehow got caught in a spider web. As for the Hamilton Tiger Cats, well, is Tony the Tiger actually sporting blackface these days? Meanwhile, the CFL team that takes the cake and all of the candles with it when it comes to logo virtue signaling is surely the Saskatchewan Roughriders. Yes, the Riders' modified logo is not just Indigenous themed, but also pays tribute to the LGGBDTTTII, etc. community, you know, so that the millions of people in the Rough Riders fan base aren't left out, the ones who, you know, identify as Two-Spirit.
So, for example, what's Two-Spirit?
Well, Two-Spirit sounds like there's someone they don't know whether they're, fish or fowl. They don't know whether they're frick or frack. So they're clearly confused.
By the way, that was former Liberal Party of Canada President Stephen Ledrew being interviewed by Tucker Carlson back in 2017. Ledrew was fired by Bell Media after that segment aired. You see, folks, in Canada, it is now strictly forbidden to call confused people. Hey, how you digging your liberalism these days, Ledrew? Finally, look what the artist did to the Calgary Stampeders logo. Yikes, it looks like the poor horse is getting electrocuted. And, you know, if any CFL logo lent itself to a little native theme modification, surely it was Calgary's charging horse, which is to say, why not place an Indigenous chief atop that stallion? I think that logo would actually look cool. But then again, did I just cross some imaginary line here regarding what is allowed and what is not allowed when it comes to native icons? It's all so confusing, isn't it? And again, I beg of you, please tell me, what are the rules? Now, I did seek out guidance from the Media Relations Department of the CFL. I sent along a series of queries regarding the Diversity as Strength platform. Alas, no response to my emails. Perhaps the CFL is only responding to smoke signals these days. If so, that's something that is beyond my pay grade. So, in the final analysis, I have two thoughts. First, as you may have noticed, I've dropped my de rigueur fedora in favor of my gorgeous Washington Redskins ball cap. This now defunct NFL logo and nickname was canceled because it is allegedly offensive. Yet the question arises, offensive to whom? Exhibit A, in 2016, none other than the Washington Post, or the Washington Compost, as the great one, Mark Levin, likes to call this newspaper, exclusively polled Native Americans regarding the name and logo of the Washington Redskins. And get this, folks, more than 90% of these respondents were not, I repeat, not offended by the logo and nickname of this franchise. By the way, it's a modern-day miracle that the Post actually published the results of its poll in the first place, given its woke editorial stance on such issues. And hey, sports fans, here's a fun fact for you. The modern-day Redskins logo was rendered in 1971. It was based upon a composite of Native American photographs, including one of the early 20th century Blackfeet chief Two Guns White Calf. He was born near Cut Bank Creek on the Blackfeet Reservation. As for the man who actually created the Redskins logo, that would be none other than the late Walter Blackie Wetzel. And get this, Wetzel was a Native American himself. He was a member of the Blackfeet tribe in Montana, serving as a tribal chairman. He also served as president of the National Congress of American Indians. Oh, poor Mr. Wetzel. Didn't he get the memo that his artwork is racist, even though Wetzel himself is Native American? But clearly replacing Redskins with Commanders was a fix for a problem that did not exist. You see, everyday natives subscribe to a different agenda than those woke natives running official native organizations these days, as well as those pearl-clutching, pale-faced liberals that are forever hell-bent on virtue signaling. And really, isn't this NFL Indigenous agenda all about virtue signaling as opposed to, actually doing something tangible for Indigenous people? Which is to say, maybe the executives at the CFL feel good about themselves ordering the teams to splash some orange on their football uniforms come late September. But how does that rectify the real problems that too many Indigenous people face on a daily basis in this country, such as the drinking water crisis? Do you know currently more than 30 reserves in Canada are under a boil water advisory? That's scandalous. Here's my advice for the CFL. Your bailiwick is to operate a professional football league, a football league that faces challenges right now in so many marketplaces. And these challenges are serious to the very survival of certain CFL teams. And no, those ludicrous rule changes going into effect next season that are meant to Americanize the Canadian game is no cure-all. And golly, the Canadian Football League embracing U.S. football rules? Is elbows up already extinct? But if the CFL insists on getting involved with social justice issues, how about, kickstarting a fundraiser to address the boil water advisory that remains on way too many reserves. That would actually be doing something good. That would be less of a fumble and more of a touchdown. One last thing to all the sports commissioners: people tuning into sports are doing so for escapism from the real wacky woke world. Which is to say, when I watch the Argonauts, I'm hoping to see, a football game, not some gridiron-themed lecture on how diversity is strength.